Welcome to the Bleep Bulimia podcast with Dr. Sarah Doyle, doctor of physical therapy and author. Hi, everyone. I am Lorianne. I'm the host of Bleep Bulimia. And today I am so pleased to have Dr. Sarah Doyle with me. She is the doctor of physical therapy, certified functional medicine practitioner, and diplomat with the American Clinical Board of Nutrition. She's also an author of the 7X method, right?
7X method right there, and the thin formula.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being with me today. And really seriously, this is, I think, something very important. So I'm going to ask you really ultimately, as I always ask, what got you into this?
Okay, well, how did I get into working as a health coach? I went to school originally for business because that's what my dad did, and I had a scholarship, and I ended up in real estate, and I was working in South Florida. There was a year like 2005 where we had really bad hurricanes. It was like the second year in a row, and I had a listing, and I lost the roof. There was like a blue tarp on the roof, and it was like my owner finally got an insurance check, and I had an offer on the house, and I couldn't find the owner. He disappeared with the insurance check. And I said, oh my God, you know how many hours I've wasted on being a realtor? Like, really, how many unpaid hours? I said, Sarah, you deserve better. So I started going back to school for physical therapy to be a physical therapist because I was always into sports. And we always kind of grew up doing massages at home. So I was working as a massage therapist, putting myself through physical therapy school. And health coaching, it wasn't even, I mean, this is back in like 2006, 2007. Like, there was no such thing as health coaches. It was just what I did working with people. And then when COVID broke out, everything went on telehealth. And I was getting contacted by all these other companies to work for them. I was like, why am I going to work for them? I'll work for myself and make, instead of working for tips, I'll work for like the whole deal. So I started working in 2020 just with my friends for free. And then I got referrals. And then I started the online business in 2021. And fast forward, here I am. I've got to write 2 books in the last 4 years, and I published a case study on one of my patients that was 20-year history of eating disorders, OCD, anxiety. And one of the things that I do in my coaching program, I do because we started in COVID and everybody was locked down. I found out a way to do all these functional medicine testing in the comfort of their own home. So I started out just testing hormones, sex hormones, stress hormones, and brain chemistry. And now I've added thyroid and heavy metals. I check for all the thyroid antibodies that are with Hashimoto's because we think that almost 80% of thyroid cases are Hashimoto's now. So I'm testing for it to help people out. But so anyways, backtrack to one of my favorite client success stories. She actually started off, I was working in massage. I was doing massage while I was building my business. I had a mobile therapy business during the lockdown and the coaching business online I was trying to build. And, God, her tail, I was like, if she falls, she's going to shatter. I could see I had eating disorders as a teenager, as an anorexic gymnast, and then became like a bulimic cheerleader in high school. So I recognized the symptoms and I started working with her, and she was like, yeah, I can't stop making myself throw up. So I did the brain chemistry test with her, and I did the hormone test too. I mean, her hormones were so bad, the lab thought she was on birth control, but it's just what, years of an eating disorder will do to you.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah. So the big win though, and that's what I wrote my case study on, was we were able to I gave her like 10 supplements because she was and that was for the brain. And so in the brain chemistry test, we can measure serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, glutamine, glycine, GABA, histamine, phenylethylamine, and creatinine. So we can get a good idea of how the brain is functioning and what like genetic things are going on. And, I do these brain tests on people all the time. And, I can see, well, that's why alcoholism runs in the family. That's why depression runs in the family. And then, I've had clients tell me, oh, I've been diagnosed with double depression That's what where they have low serotonin and low dopamine. And so that's why a lot of times they don't respond to therapy with a regular psychotherapist. So the point of my story is this case study was just lovely. We were able to get her BMI from barely 17 up to like 19 in 5 months. When we retested, a lot of her brain chemicals were in midline. She told me within a week, she started to feel like a different person, but like in 2 weeks, it was like she finally got off the hamster wheel. As somebody who suffers from OCD, all those compelling things that told her, I have to work out for 4 hours, I have to do this, I can't do this, and counting this and doing that, all those things were resolved without doing psychotherapy. It was just a chemical imbalance. And we can fix these things with therapeutic levels of nutraceuticals. So we use pharmaceutical grade vitamins, minerals, herbs, and amino acids that are high quality, high doses. Depending on what their results look like when I get them, will determine the dosage. So it's like a personalized plan. And so it was, her husband said she was much more pleasant. He didn't feel like he had to walk around on eggshells anymore.
No, that's
And yeah, she just felt like she got her freedom back. So that's how I got into this. I was always into health and wellness myself. I had eating disorders as a kid, and thankfully they were resolved. But that's how I got into the coaching program. It was a little bit of COVID, a little bit of childhood trauma, and the rest is history.
that's interesting. So I'm interested in how this process works.
Sure, the coaching process.
And well, how do you get all of the information to know what that client needs, or whatever you call them? I like client because it means somebody coming back to you all the time.
Yeah,
Right? To be able to diagnose what their needs are.
sure. Well, I don't make diagnoses. I have to say that just legally, but I
Okay.
do look at symptoms and I can see a cluster of symptoms, and that will guide what kind of testing that I give them. Most of the people I work with are perimenopausal or menopausal.
Yep.
And when our hormone, and this, if this, applies to people with eating disorders, not just people in perimenopause, when our
Mhm.
hormones are fluctuating, our brain chemicals fluctuate. And when our estrogen goes down, all these estrogen receptors in our brain, they starve and then they start to atrophy. So you actually lose brain function when you don't have enough estrogen. So there's different clusters of symptoms. The protocols that I use can be found in clinical research. It took me years to develop all this stuff, but it's all out there. It's all evidence based. My clinical study, both my books, they all have citations from research, so it's out there. It's just that I don't think that big pharma wants psychiatrists giving these tests because, oh my God, they're going to find out that these genetic things can be helped with high doses of B vitamins or high doses of methyl donors or high doses of herbs. I've even got a patient right now, her dad had Parkinson's, and they were giving him the traditional medical protocol is to give them L-Dopa, and he went bat. I mean, he went crazy. He ended up like having straight up hallucinations. Left the house in a suit, was in the lobby of the condo building. They ended up having, we call this in Florida, Baker acting, when people become like either a harm to themselves or a harm to others. I don't, every state has like a different, like I think California, it's called like a 5150. Like every state has a different terminology for it. But so anyways, like these psychotropic drugs were driving him to have hallucinations. So she took him off of him. And we did this brain chemistry test on him with the Parkinson's. And what we found is there's other chemicals that contribute to the tremors and this and that. So we're giving him high doses of these herbs and he's starting to do better. He's starting to improve. Whereas with the big pharma protocol, he was not. So can you imagine like the amount of antidepressants and Xanax that are dispensed every day, every year continue to rise. And you can bet your butt that, big Pfizer and whoever big pharma players, they don't want you to know that you can actually test your brain chemicals, see what's going on, and fix it naturally. That's like the last thing they want you to know. Right?
How does that work? How do you test your brain though?
Oh my
That's
God, it's so easy. So we look at the metabolites. So everything that's happened in your body comes out in your urine. I had no idea that my pee was so valuable. I do, yeah, we do
I love
hormone
you.
testing. We do our sex hormones, our stress hormones. I can pick up precancerous metabolites in there and see if we have some, we can find all kinds of things. You just pee in the cup, you put it in a test tube. The lab sends you with like a little freezer pack and a prepaid envelope, and then you just drop it off at a UPS drop box, or you call FedEx because it's a medical specimen and they come pick it up. And you get your results in 10 days. It goes to a lab. It's all done by urine testing.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
simple.
you can find everything. You can
Wow.
find heavy metals. The only thing we do, like if I do DNA testing, I still use a buccal swab.
Yeah.
For the thyroid antibodies, we have to do a finger prick. For the food allergies, we do a finger prick. But mostly everything we do is with urine, which is great. All you have to do is set an alarm in your phone and put a little plastic cup that you want to throw away next to your toilet, and you're good to go. It's painless.
Wow. That is really interesting. So I was really, so it's funny because I'd actually asked somebody previously. So, um, with my bulimia, I was bulimic for 30 years, as I explained to you. And I did have for like not through my pregnancies though. So I won't say that. Like for some reason that was like I couldn't harm my birth my child. I could harm myself, but not them, which is really a weird thing to think about. But I thought about that and I thought I was so protective of my children when I was pregnant, but yet not protective of me. It's interesting, isn't it? How your mindset goes,
Mhm.
right? But
Yeah.
anyway, so but between my daughter, my second child and my third child, um, I had actually even quit bulimia and I got my period back. But
Wow.
any other time outside of that, it was so irregular. Obviously by the time that I quit my bulimia, I was 48 and it was I don't even know if I went through menopause yet. Like I'm 61, I don't know. It just
Pretty
stopped,
sure.
right? Right? I think so
Yeah.
too. But the thing is you don't know. Um, and I heard that, but well, my doctor said to me, he said, as long as you have the symptoms, you're okay. Because of course, osteoporosis is bad if you don't get if you're irregular, from what I hear, I don't know the truth.
Yeah, estrogen is necessary for bone remodeling in men and
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that was something that was interesting. But he said, but as long as you get the symptoms, he said, that's a good thing. So I do. I mean, I still do, even at 61 on a monthly basis, I get the symptoms,
Oh, wow.
not not the flow, but the symptoms.
Interesting.
And I mean, I don't know how to explain how the symptoms are, but you gotta get a little cranky and you get a little bit horny and you get a little bit of all these weird
Yeah.
things, right? And that lasts for about 4 or 5 days, and then it goes away. But yeah, you said you're fine physically that way, but if you don't have any of the symptoms and you don't have your regularity, it can be a problem.
Yeah, that's a big concern. And with the patient that I talked about in my case study, we did have her check up with her doctor and make sure that her bone density was okay. That way we
Yeah,
can attack it early, right? The earlier you start taking care of something, the much easier it is, less painful it becomes, right?
absolutely. Yep. You don't want to be growing old with that. Um, so um, with that, even with you, I'm actually curious. I'm going to ask you a personal question. With your bulimia, what helped you to recover?
I think I want to say I was in my early 20s. And oh, I know what it was. I never really thought about it, but now I know what it was. I had a urinary tract infection while traveling. I had like a nice fun vacation with a guy and we were drinking and carrying on. I got a UTI and I was like, oh, I'll be fine. I just went to the drugstore and got the Azo cranberry. I did like the Walgreens special. And I spread to my kidneys and I was really, really sick. And so I went to an urgent care because I was still traveling, and they gave me a 10-day script to Cipro. Ciprofloxacin is now like very seldom used because it's had so many side effects, from tendon problems to people who have full on myalgia, fibromyalgia, wheelchair bound, like they lose the mitochondria in their cell. Like it's now like a blacklisted drug. But I took it and I became so ill afterwards. I thought I had Crohn's disease. I could barely eat anything. It took me a year. That's really what started like my journey with health and wellness, and taking supplements and trying to fix myself because my microbiome was trashed. I ended up with all kinds of food allergies. Like to this day, I have an EpiPen with me when I go to restaurants because I'm severely allergic to truffles in particular, and then some other mushrooms. Like I actually had to go to the hospital and get my throat opened up, like all from this antibiotic. So that is what stopped my bulimia, as I was so ill. I was just like so ill, and eating became, I was like, wow, wish I could eat, you know? So I was like throwing up and poop. It was running, things were running out of both ends all the time for about a year. I had to take like a FMLA off of work. I got so sick from the antibiotic.
Wow. That's crazy. Well, good that you got out of it too.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious, your sex X method, and tell us about your books. Like, I really like to know about that.
Sure. Yeah, I have. So the thin formula is I wrote that. I wrote both of these books before Chat GPT was invented. So they were like really from me, FYI. I like to throw that out there because you know, you see these chat write a book in a day with Chat GPT. Like, no,
Oh,
this one
I
took
know.
like 6 months. This took like 2.5 years. I self-published that one. This was just the thin formula, thyroid hormones, intercourse, nutrition, and it's just lifestyle modifications to help people get toxins out of their life, because people don't realize how toxic our world is, and how things like all these xenoestrogens and pesticides and all the fragrances and how they affect your hormones and they make you fat. Like people, you can't lose weight if you have a house full of toxins. So that was like an original book that I wrote with my coaching program, and I give it away when people go to my webinars. It's easy reach. If it takes you an hour, then you need a tutor. Now, the 7X
That's cute.
method, yeah, the 7X method is my pride and joy. I traveled to Central America by myself. I went to go stay with a friend to get some dentistry done because it was really expensive in the United States. I had a car accident. I was a passenger in a car accident, and I fractured 3 teeth in the back, and I needed 3 implants. And they're so expensive. I wanted to get the amalgams out, the mercury out of my mouth, because thyroid problems run in my family, and mercury is bad for thyroid. So I, was quoted like 30 grand in the United States, and I was like, that's crazy. Dentistry shouldn't be a luxury, and not. So I went to Central America, and my friend is like, "You got to meet this dude I know in town." He's like, "You guys are always talking about energy and this and that. I think you guys would get along." So I meet this dude, and it turns out he is a Canadian expat, and he's a liaison for a quantic medicine program where there's a healing center. They don't want Americans to know about it, so I can't say where it is. Um, exactly. But they've been using food as medicine to heal people from diseases. And if somebody's struggling with an eating disorder, I would definitely recommend grabbing the book. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere books are sold. It's in Kindle, it's in paperback, it's in Audible. I did the whole $3,000 to sit in a sound booth and read the story and get it edited, because a lot of people, I don't even read books, and I wrote I write books, but I barely read them. I listen to everything because my lifestyle, I listen to them while I'm working out. And so the whole premise is that there's no such thing as a calorie. There's no such thing as fat grams. There's no counting. There's no math. So if we look at mathematics, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whether you're counting weight, like the bigger I am, the more I weigh. The more time that I spend on this earth, the older I am. This is like a continuous data model, right? So we've been looking at food all wrong. We've been measuring using continuous data. What they suggest, and these scientists is that they use something called discrete data. So discrete data is data that's grouped into sets according to characteristics. So I say, like, a husky, a chow chow, a chihuahua, those are all dogs that would be using discrete data. Or like apples, oranges, and bananas are all fruits. Or lemons, limes, and grapefruits are all citrus fruits. This is all categorizing based on discrete data. So that's how they started looking at food. Food has 7 groups based on their characteristics.
Mhm.
That's number one. And they go by colors. The same, it's 7 colors, just like the colors in the rainbow. They start with the purple group from 7 to 9 a.m., the blue group from 9 to 11 a.m., the green group from 11 to 1 p.m., the red group from 1 to 3 p.m., yellow group from 3 to 5, orange group from 5 to 6, and white group from 6 to 7 p.m. And you look at your foods and they go by these colors much of the time. Not in all cases, but I'll get into that. This coordinates with the circadian rhythm. You know, people in Central America, a lot of these indigenous tribes, they put a lot of merit to the sun and the moon and the seasonal cycles and this and that. So this is heavily based in circadian science. So you have your main sleep wake cycle when you open your eyes, and all of your organs and systems will follow this. So your organs and systems are grouped into 7 different groups. So the first group is the purple group. It's your DNA, it's your pituitary gland, it's your pineal gland. And it makes sense, right? So your pineal gland up here, your third eye, has been pumping out melatonin all night long. And you open your eyes, it gets off its work shift, it wants some food, and it's going to take a nap. And then the next group in the purple and the blue group between 9 and 11, you make your hyaluronic acid, your eyes, and then your thyroid, which makes sense because your thyroid works really hard overnight, pumping out T4, and it takes a break between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. This is why people who have low thyroid, they tend to get real tired in the afternoon. They feel cold 2, 3 o'clock. They really struggle. That's because of the circadian rhythm. So it goes on and on. All of your organs and systems are grouped into these groups, and each group has different sets certain kinds of colors. So the purple group is like to purple group. You can just simply go outside and look at the sun, like go for a little walk, 10 minutes, sit on your porch and have coffee. That activates this whole line. And if you can't go outside, or if it's cloudy, or if it's real cold, you can activate this with like chocolate, cacao, coffee, tea, and berries, dark berries. So that there's some other fruits in there, nuts and seeds. So this is the time of day that you would eat these. I eat chocolate every day. I have coffee and chocolate every single morning without fail. Now, it's good chocolate. When I say that, I mean, you want to say that it's like fairly, it's like sustainably sourced. It's not made by Nestle where like they're using child labor and then they're mixing it with chemicals and milk and stuff. That's not what you want. Don't get the child labor chocolate, get the good chocolate. And then the blue group that nourishes your thyroid, that's all water bearing fruits. So again, you're going to have like whatever fruits you like. And then the green group, that is, like green foods, like salads and green drinks and chlorophyll and avocados. And this actually correlates. It's phenomenal how they know this. The dominant frequency, like there's different wavelengths in light, right? We see white light, but if you break into a rainbow, we know there's 7 different colors. Well, the dominant wavelength at the top of the day is green. And that is when we eat foods from the green group, and how this all coordinates. It's freaking fantastic. So I was like, okay, well, if there are people are going to this healing center and they're healing from cancers and stuff, and they're doing like way more like juicing protocols that start after the new moon with this, like it's way more technical. I don't have those protocols, but I have the basic timed eating protocols, and I had permission to reproduce that. So, I mean, like I said, I got so sick after that Cipro. I had tons of food sensitivities. I needed food. I needed digestive enzymes to digest my food. I was taking tons of probiotics. Like if the label said take 2 digestive enzymes with lunch, I was like taking 4. Like anyway, and just to keep away the heartburn, I was like my stomach was wrecked, and I was like, you know what? Probably years from being a bulimic too, being bulimic and then killing myself with Cipro. So I tried this, and within 2 weeks, my sleep got better. I started going to sleep at like 11 o'clock instead of having insomnia until 1. A lot of my food sensitivity, I stopped getting diarrhea from different foods. and my heartburn went away. I haven't taken a digestive enzyme or medication for heartburn. I mean, unless I go off the diet, um, since starting the diet. And there's no portion. So, I mean, when you first start it, the first week, or even say even month, like you don't worry about restricting portions. Just worry about changing the time of day that you eat foods. You eat red meat. You eat vegetables. You don't eat fried food. You don't eat processed food out of that comes out of plastic wrappers, because that's not really food. That's fake food from big agriculture. But you can eat, you can eat your red meat, you can eat your butter, you can eat your rice, you can eat things. You just change what time of day you eat them. And your body has probably been so starved from this energy for so long that you may feel like you need big quantities. Like when I was probably the first 6 or 7 months, like the green group, my body was like, I was taking a green juice, I was having green smoothies. It was like I couldn't get enough. Like, you don't put on weight, your inflammation goes down. And what's incredible is my clients are like, their carpal tunnel goes away, their arthritis goes away. I have people like they've had neuropathy, their neuropathy starts like reducing. Like it doesn't go away 100%, but it improves their quality of life. Like it's incredible. So uh I spent 20 grand publishing that thing because I believe God gave me that information to spread it. Because I mean, what's it just going to stay in Central America and just go to these native people? Like, it's been around for 50 years and nobody's made it public. So I felt like God was like, don't worry about the money. I'll provide. Just do this, just do it. So I did it.
That is wonderful. What a great story. I really like these concepts. Like, I mean, that's really big on it. And I love the concept of the rainbow. And I, you know what? I actually believe that to be true. Although it's the first time I've heard it, I believe that to be true. Um, and chocolate, see, I'm doing the wrong thing. I have chocolate. I love the so I don't like I don't like chocolate, believe it or not. um my boss keeps buying me these dark chocolate, and they're nice and they're healthy ones because he's unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a little piece, so I have a little piece every night before I
Mm-hmm.
go to bed, and I enjoy it. But now I know I can have it in the morning. It's probably a better thing. So that's going to be interesting. I'm definitely going to get the book because I
Your
really want to
energy,
know more
yeah, your
about it.
energy levels are going to go, they're going to be so much better. You're not going to need coffee in the afternoon. Like that's the big thing is people are like, I feel so good. I don't even want to go off the diet for 3 hours.
Wow.
You don't have to eat 7 times a day. I say there's 7 opportunities a day to
Yeah,
eat. So the idea is if you're sitting down to eat, you're like, okay, the main time right now is green. So I want to make sure I get something for the green group. Like that should be my main focus. Or it's the red group. That's for your heart, your adrenal glands, your blood. You want to get some protein at this time of day. Like you want to make sure you're getting a good chunk from that. It doesn't have to be 100% from that food group, but you want to make sure you're satisfying your body's needs.
let's see. The other thing too, that I loved about what you said is the restriction thing. So when we say diet, I don't like the word diet because it's been in social media a bad thing,
Mhm.
right? Social media means like
Yeah.
dieting, losing weight. But in fairness and truth, a lot of people who are trying to recover from bulimia and get over it, their biggest fear is gaining weight. And I like that what you're saying is that there's no restrictions. You're not going to gain weight. I I was equally fearful, but funny enough, it was actually the opposite. I lost a couple of pounds, not a lot, because I was never large. And then I've maintained it the last 14 years, but I never restrict myself. I never do. And so that to me is a big thing for my clients to know, or my listeners to know. See, I say clients all the time. It's from work. For my listeners who keep coming back. Yeah, that restriction, non-restriction is really important.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's not that you want to overdo it, because I do always believe that in anything in life, quantity, um, so it is important. So like overdoing anything is not healthy. Like,
Mhm.
like if you overdo everything all the time. But you stabilize yourself with that. And I think what it sounds like to me, you're so used to it, like it's just become like a routine and
Yeah, once you learn the time,
comfortable,
like,
right?
yeah, I had to like have a screenshot of the times a day and the foods that were in it. I had that in my phone. So when I was out, I would look at it. But then, after a couple months, it's just
Yeah.
comes second nature. And I look forward to it because I know that I never get tired after I eat. I always feel energetic after I eat. I'm like, wow, this is what God intended for us. And we've been so subjected to, I mean, so much propaganda from I grew up in the 90s with the snack wells and Kate Moss waif model.
Yeah.
I mean, what were we supposed to think? Like, I mean, I remember being a model and being told by photographers that I needed to lose more weight. And
Me
that just,
too.
yeah, that just perpetuated the
Yep.
vomiting, the
That
purging.
was
Like,
that was in the 80s, believe it or not, because we had the 60s, there was Twiggy, right? And
yeah,
like prior to that, prior to Twiggy, and you look at Marilyn Monroe, you look at any of these
Richard Bardo.
beautiful, like they were all beautiful, but then I don't know, skinny came into the thing, and I don't know where that came in, and then yeah, that propagated all that, those eating disorders. Um, but thank goodness we're moving away from that. But I still know that there's people, and I love that you're talking to this generation as well, because that's what, midlife bulimia. A lot of people think bulimia, oh, it's just young people who have it. No, there's a lot of women still struggling with it who are in
Yeah,
their
some,
40s,
yeah.
50s. One lady started during COVID and she was in her 40s.
Oh,
She'd
wow.
never had it before, but in COVID, she started. So there's also the you're going through exactly what you're talking about, the hormonal changes. It's like a different kind of puberty. It's a different one. It's
It
not
is.
as
Our
fun,
second
right?
puberty. Yeah, that's
I
exactly
don't
what I
think the first
feel.
one's that fun either, but the second one is worse.
Yeah, because you don't get, and people don't expect it. Like when you're a kid, they're like, oh, I was just going through puberty. Now you're like,
Yeah,
have responsibilities and you might lose your job.
yeah, yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
yep, yep, yep. I know. I'm trying to change all that, girlfriend. I hear you.
I love it.
Yeah, well, so your clients can find me. I have an Instagram 7X method, just like the book, my YouTube channel. I post a lot of shorts because most people don't have a lot of attention. I don't have much attention span. I post a lot of shorts there. So you can message me on Instagram and then you can find me on my website is drsarahdoyle.com. It's DRSARAHDOYLE.com. You'll find there that I have like the whole biohacking boot camp and I have a concierge membership, this and that. If you just want to do the brain chemistry test, just send me a message on Instagram. I'll do the chemistry, the test and the consultation for your listeners. I'll do it for $500. Just DM me on the Instagram and be like, hey, I saw you on Laura's show, Bleep Bulimia, and I want to take advantage. I do that for veterans too. I work with veterans from, well, veterans, with PTSD and other
Yes.
issues and other compulsions. So I do that. It's a with a consultation and the lab fee included. It's a pretty, that's like the cheapest I can offer. But I know what it's like to struggle with mental health issues, and most people don't have a lot of funds. But yeah, I can do that for you. And then it just takes, the best thing about this is your brain only takes a couple weeks. So you can get this test, it gets shipped to your house within a week. You do the urine sample, you just wake up in the morning and pee, and then you send it off to the lab, and it takes about 10 days to come back. And then I get the results. We do a telehealth consult, we order some supplements, and so they get to you. So let's say like 30 days from now, you can start the program. If you message me today, you can start your supplement regimen. And then so 6 weeks from today, you can feel like a totally new person. And just this really helps make a long lasting change because you're changing the brain chemistry. And if you're doing some kind of therapy too, I think that has a better chance of long-term success. So like my biohacking boot camp, I have it listed for $5,000. I do a lot of discounts on my webinars. I usually give it away for about $3,000. But the whole reason why it works is because we do 10 weeks of masterminds. It's like cognitive behavioral therapy. So as we're going through the program, and then they have a 24/7 access to me on WhatsApp, because sometimes people are coming off of psychotropic drugs. They've been on these SSRIs for years and it's affecting their hormones, or they're getting these side effects, but they don't want to feel suicidal. So, we can do some really great things just using vitamins. It's amazing.
That's amazing. That is. And I do believe in nature. It was actually funny when you were talking about the one gentleman who was using like food to help the patients. It is in the Bible. I don't know, like, okay, so I read the Bible.
You don't know
But
the chapter. It's okay.
one part does state that God did provide everything on this earth for us to get well from any illnesses.
Amen.
I'm paraphrasing here because I know, but I remember that reading that, and I really believe that, like herbs and spices and all of that. I do believe that they have the ability
Mhm.
to definitely um cure certain ailments. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I believe that portion
I'm
of the
putting,
Bible, and
I'm
I
putting
always
my whole,
did.
yeah, my whole life is into this, girlfriend. I'm trying to bring it back to keep people off Big Pharma. So I'm with you,
Nice.
girl.
Thank you. And thank
And
you so much for being here. Seriously, I really enjoyed this conversation and I
thanks for
really
having me.
appreciate your time. Really, I do.
Yeah, my pleasure. If we can just save like one or two lives, then it was worth it.
Thank you. All right. Take
Bye,
care.
everybody.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit me at bleepbulimia.com.